All right, welcome everyone. We're back for another chat with one of our wellness partners, Lydia. And we're so grateful to get to hear from her today. She always has such good wisdom to share. So
Thank you,
mute
Crystal.
myself, the feedback. All right. So Lydia, she's introduced herself before, and she's just going to share how she got started on her natural holistic wellness journey. So go ahead, Lydia, and thank you so much for being here and for your precious time.
Yes, thank you so much, Crystal, for having me. I am truly honored. Thank you so much. One thing I really appreciate about having this space and having this as a topic with regards to natural wellness is the fact that it's a series of decisions and choices that brings you here. This is not a way of being in this day and age that just naturally happens, for lack of a better term. It's kind of pun intended, right? It's something that you're choosing to be really intentional about. And that was honestly how it started for me with regards to my natural wellness journey. So for the majority of my life, it was just simply following whatever was happening with the mainstream and not even necessarily thinking anything of it, because that's just what was done. That's just what we do when we have a headache. We take, Tylenol or aspirin. When we feel a certain way, we just take a bottle of, we just take a cap full of something, or we take some pills or whatever, and that's just how it is. And so there was never this thought about realizing this now hindsight. There was never this thought about, when something is happening to me physically, it's my body signaling that something is off. It's my body telling me, hey, you may want to check under the hood in this area and work on this thing, versus it being, oh no, just be quiet and let me just cover it up with something, right? So when I got to, let's see, it was about my late 20s that I had an incident where I was prescribed something that was supposed to be helpful, but was in fact really harmful. So I actually did a talk about that earlier this week on my personal Facebook page. And when I had that misdiagnosis and then was prescribed something that was very, very wrong, experiencing what my body went through afterwards had caused me to go, okay, I now need to be in a place where I choose to be intentional. There's no other word for it. I now need to choose to be intentional about how I take care of my body. I need to be intentional about what it is that I'm placing in my body. I need to be intentional about what's coming onto my skin. And it was even in that shift, and as I started to do research and as I started to look at different options, that I ended up starting off in more of a homeopathic route. So it was using lots of herbs, it was using lots of different tinctures and things, creating items and letting them sit on my counter for days, weeks at a time, right? Um, and knowing that, okay, I'm choosing to do this. Does it take work? Yeah. Is it kind of inconvenient at times? Yes. But I've experienced what it was like when I just allowed things to just kind of cruise control, right? And I didn't keep my hand on the steering wheel and I expected somebody else to do the steering for me. So I experienced that and I went, this is worth me keeping my hands on the steering wheel. This is worth me putting in the work and the effort. So when we got to the point of finding out that we were pregnant and that we were expecting, that then unlocked a whole nother level of approaching natural wellness. It meant, I was starting to think about, what are the kinds of things that I want for my kids to be exposed to in our home? Realizing that, oh, wow, there's actually a whole lot of chemicals that are used throughout our household that we can take for granted. And we've just become accustomed to them, but not realizing just the level of damage that they do over time. So that opened a whole new sphere. And then there was the the other appointment that I had. I was going to an esthetician at the time, and I told her that I was pregnant. We were starting to get a little bit used to the idea of being pregnant. And she said, I'm so glad you told me, because the product that you bought last week to use on your face, you now cannot use because one of the ingredients in it is known to be potentially damaging for babies. I'm just, okay, wait, hold on. So if it's damaging for a child developing in my womb and I put it on my face, that's just weird, number one. And number two, if it's harmful for a baby, why is it somehow cool for me to use? And it's not like, we're not talking about honey here, we're not talking about something that's naturally derived. We're talking about something that is known to be damaging and potentially to present like a carcinogen to a growing infant. So I was just, all right, great. So now this means I need to be in a place of doing additional work and going back to the books and going back to the research to go, what is it that I can use to take care of myself well? And so all of that was just this buildup. And so it's just continued of just, at first it felt really tedious with doing the cleanses and the detoxes and removing foods and eliminating things and, doing all the apple cider vinegar and all the tinctures and whatnot. Yet over time, one, I was able to find a way of doing things much more simply, #essential oils. Just wait, this is kind of nice that I can just grab some digize and rub it on my belly and I don't have to go through this whole process of let me take this tincture and this thing and that, and just done, right? So it was great knowing that that was an option and that there were simpler, just straightforward ways for me to be able to move. And then two was that I was now in a place where I was developing body intuition. My husband was starting to develop body intuition because he was going, oh, wait, yeah, I actually did notice that my body feels different when I don't eat gluten. Cool. Now we know that one needs to go, right? And also starting to cultivate that within our kids. So it's making them more body aware. It's making them more body sensitive. Because once that happens, then that means that whatever route they choose to go with caring for themselves, they now are realizing that this is their body signaling them, hey, there's something that's up. Something isn't right here. I'm out of balance. Please help me balance again. So yeah, so that is my natural wellness journey in a nutshell. And I am just extremely grateful for it because I know in so many ways it's broadened our horizons. It's allowed us to recognize the power of our choices and not live in, again, that just hands off the steering wheel, vehicle and cruise control type of life. And for me personally, as being a person who wants to be as close as possible to my creator's heart as I can be, this is now allowing me to be very intentional in that space as well with my faith and to connect those pieces and to know that I'm choosing to hear as clearly as possible and cut out all the fluff and the other stuff so that it's just always a clear and pure line to him. Sometimes it has moments, but I'm very grateful that in his grace that it all connects together. So that is my natural wellness journey in a nutshell.
I think you did amazing at putting all of that together in one coherent stream in bite-sized nuggets. That's awesome. And yeah, you touched on so much. And I can see my own journey in there, like those aha moments each step of the way. Like first it's realizing, I think, that this way isn't necessarily the best way. So there has to be a different option. And that it's realistic. I want to do better. I get that this can help, but when you have to shift your whole lifestyle to incorporate this, and it does take time to make remedies to, and any routine that you switch up is a challenge and you have to be focused and dedicated to it. So this whole new health care, nutrition, exercise, it can be overwhelming for people. But I love that you mentioned, like, just taking all of that time and just using an essential oil is so much easier. Like so you can see, I have it on my neck right now, just putting on a roller bottle because just in the middle of a busy life, it's like we could all have the best intentions. It's start simple. So
simple.
Going into the body awareness, I think that's another thing most people are so removed from. They don't know how to listen to them. So I'd love to go more in depth with you on that later because that's something I'm more new to. And especially in my education in natural health and wellness, we are diving into learning to hear from our bodies. So,
Yes.
and oh, bringing your children into it. Like, I
Mhm.
think every parent who feels overwhelmed is like, yes, my child needs to learn how to like listen to themselves and then be able
Yeah.
to communicate with their parent. Like, this is what I feel after I ate this. I suddenly feel like this. So
Yes.
much of the behavioral issues can stem from
Mhm.
what they eat or what's
Exactly.
in their product. And so much. There's so much that I think you are doing so well and being such an example for. I learned plenty from you too. You are such an inspiration to me.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I'm just grateful to even have this conversation. And I hope that for anyone who watches this, that it can be just that little aha moment of, yeah, maybe I do need to start doing this. And maybe I can bypass all the extra things because there's so much, so many
Yeah.
options out there, which is amazing. But maybe
Hmm.
let's just go to a simplified version, maybe something already pre-made and just putting a
You know.
drop on an
Yeah.
essential oil or a tincture that is already made is amazing. So
Yes.
I won't pick up any more of your time, but I would say just if you have to share, going back on it now, if you could just get started a little bit simpler to share with others who want to get started but are really in the thick of their lives, maybe with little
Oh.
kids, a lot going on, what's the best way for them to get started without feeling so overwhelmed?
Oh my goodness. Wow. I'd say the best way to get started, honestly, is to sit.
Oh, you just went to mute.
Hey, can you hear me?
Okay, so go back and just re-answer that. I don't know what happened.
Spoiler. Yeah, I was just gonna wait. Yeah. So I'd say the best way to get started is to have a conversation with someone you trust who is doing that very thing, who is excelling in that space of choosing to go a simpler route, of choosing to go a natural route. So, for example, if it was a conversation with me, I would say, okay, let's sit down and take a look at these different areas that are affecting you. Let's figure out what the top three are that are impacting you the most, and let's create and find a solution to those three areas. Let's unlock this in baby steps. So this is a journey that, again, when I started on it, I was very much doing it by myself. It was, let me go get the books, let me go watch the videos, let me go do the things. But knowing that if I had somebody alongside who was just, hey, let me just help you to sort through what's going on, let's figure out the top three and let's just hit those and get those back on track, the rest of it will then flow. The rest of it totally flows. So whether that means, it's figuring out how to get chemicals out of your house and do things more cleanly there, then it'd be okay, well, let's look at things that are related to, for example, I use Thieves household cleaner. I'm a huge fan of Thieves, right? So I'd be using that. Or if it's, I'm really wanting to help my children to be able to sleep better, because if they sleep, then I sleep. Cool. Then peace and calming, cedarwood, lavender, frankincense, those kinds of things to use, right? Unwind is amazing, by the way. All right. So depending on where it is that you're looking for and what it is that you're desiring to get started with, your goals and your priorities then would set the tone for what happens next, because your success ends up meaning all of our success.
Oh, that's so good. Yes. I think everyone else who would get started loves the idea of just focusing on three things because there's
Mm-hmm.
so much. Like, it really is the whole life overhaul. So just those three big, huge concerns. That's such a great
Yeah.
thing to start tackling. And you're right, it all
Yeah.
does connect. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, thank you so much. And just to wrap it up, where can anyone who wants to learn more about you connect with you? What's the best way?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I would always point to the website. So that's lydiaepic.com. So it's epic with two P's. So EPPIC.com. And then if you're on Facebook or Instagram, just look up Hey Lydia Epic, again with two P's, and we can connect there. And you can just follow the journey as we're doing all the things. So yeah, and if there's anything in particular that you're looking for and you have questions on, happy to help. Just message me and we'll chat.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Lydia. That was a lot of gold nuggets in a very short period of time. So
You got it.
thanks so much. We appreciate your time and just your heart for helping others along your journey as well. So,
Yeah. Thank you again, Crystal, for having me. I appreciate it.
absolutely. And thank you to everyone who's watching. Drop a comment and let Lydia know what you think about it. Where are you at on your journey?